Have you ever thought about going on a cruise, maybe solo, and didn't know what the cost would be? Well, I got you covered. I have put together a solo cruise budget calculator. This is to help you to figure out what the real numbers are before you book. You can stop guessing, entering your cruise details, and getting a complete breakdown by using this budget calculator. It's a free tool. Anyone is welcome to use it. So, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go over my upcoming cruise on Virgin Voyages. This is a budget cruise that I booked a couple of years ago. It was canceled. I rebooked. It was canceled again. So, this is my third time trying to go on Virgin Voyages since I went back in 2021. So real quick, most of the numbers I've already pre-populated. So I'm going to go over just how to use this calculator. You're welcome to, in the comments, ask questions, make recommendations if you see anything that's missing or you think that would be helpful for this calculator. So we're going to start off at the beginning. As I stated before, this is a free tool. This is part of the Getabout life system. You get a chance to know your real numbers before you book. There are several sections here that you will see, and we will go over them, each of them separately. And we're going to start off with number one, which is the cruise basics. This is pretty simple. So this is based off of the cruise length, not the days, but the number of nights that you will be on this cruise, on your cruise per se. So for instance, this cruise that I'm going on, it's a 5-night cruise, which has 2 ports. So you will put in the number of nights that you have. Again, I have 5. You put in the number of port days. So we have 2 port days. The next line, you're going to have your base cabin fare. So this looks pretty low. As I stated before, my cruise is a budget cruise. So this is a inside solo cabin. The original price was over $1,000, but I got a great discount, so I'm only paying $477 for the room only. Many times when you book a cruise, you're going to be booking maybe a inside cabin that is for a family of 2 or more, and you may have to pay a solo supplement. So many people who travel solo know that many times you have to pay an additional cost even though you're traveling alone. Sometimes they waive it and sometimes they don't. Because I'm staying in a solo cabin, I don't have a solo supplement to spend, so you will see it at 0. Here is a breakdown of the taxes, fees, and port charges, which for me adds up to $187. On the next section, you have onboard packages. So for this cruise, you're going to see basically mostly zeros. When I'm going on a regular cruise, of course, I normally get the drink package. I definitely get the Wi-Fi. I may get some of the specialty dining options that I will venture outside of the buffet or the regular main dining room. So here, because I have money to spend on board the ship, I don't have to worry about these costs. Then there's the spa wellness. Sometimes I may spend money on that as well. It all depends. Definitely casino. This is one of the things that I budget for. I always budget for the drink package, Wi-Fi, casino, and sometimes specialty dining, as I've stated before. So this can be an upgrade. So you have specialty dining here. Here, there could be an additional cost for specialty dining. So you can figure out between the two. And this may be something that I'll update in the future. Also, you have the entertainment dining shows. Outside of your regular meals, there may be additional dinner shows that you may want to attend. And these are outside of specialty dining that you may also, again, choose to partake in. Entertainment, sometimes there are additional costs for entertainment. And so right now, I'm just going to put in $100. Onboard credit. So as I stated before, this cruise that I'm going on was originally a cruise that I booked over 2 years ago. It was canceled twice. And each time it was canceled, I was offered a deal to rebook, and I received sailor's loot, which is like onboard credit. So I have a lot of money to spend on board this cruise. So I don't have to worry about a drink package, or as they call it on Virgin Voyages, I don't have to worry about purchasing a bar tab. because basically I have enough money to cover my drinks on this cruise. Wi-Fi, that's already included based on cruising with Virgin Voyages back in 2021. I get these perks because I was part of the original group of people who sailed at the beginning of when they first got started. So there are perks that I get just for being a part of the original group that sailed at the beginning in 2021 and some who sailed in 2022. So I'm not going to go over that right now, but I may discuss that further once I go on my cruise. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you would definitely hear me talk more about all the money that I have to spend, how I'm going to spend it, how if you get sailor's loot, if you get a bar tab, how you could spend it as well. So again, this is kind of how you're going to use the solo budget calculator. Going to the next section, as far as gratuities, because I booked this cruise a while back, I don't have to pay for gratuities because they were already included. However, since my booking, things have changed and they no longer include gratuities as part of your booking. It's a separate cost, but you can look at that when you book your cruise to determine if you want to book whichever level that may have gratuities included. So again, I don't have to pay for that. So I'm not going to factor that in. As far as tips, I definitely budget for tips. So on this short cruise, I'm just going to put in $100. That's about $20 per day. Sometimes I add more or sometimes I add less. But I definitely have money to tip my stateroom attendant when I go to specialty restaurants, when I go to the bar to get drinks. So I always try to have a few dollars, that I can tip, or even I'm in the casino ordering a drink, I make sure that I have some dollar bills, to tip people as I go along on the cruise. Okay, so for the next section, we have travel. Here, there are three different options. You have flying, you have driving, or you have train. And I added train because I'm not sure how many people take a train going on their cruise. This is something that I rarely do. I normally fly to wherever destination. Sometimes I drive if it's close. And sometimes I have taken the train. I've taken the train when I lived in Maryland a few times when I cruised out of New York. So it was just easier for me to take the train there than to drive. Again, I've driven before, and of course, I've done a lot of flying. So we're just going to go to train right now. So for this trip, I had a great deal for a train ride on Amtrak from South Carolina to Florida going into Miami. So right now, I am only paying $140 round trip for my train ride. Of course, flying right now is incredibly expensive. So therefore, I felt that this was the best option, and it worked for me. On my cruise back in January, I actually took a train to Florida for the first time for a cruise when I went out of Fort Lauderdale. So just to give you an idea of what you can do. Also here, you'll see that there's a station transfer or ride share. And so for this particular cruise, I've budgeted about $150 for ride share. That's actually once I get into Miami, going to the hotel, the next day going to the port, and also leaving the port after returning on disembarkation, going back to the train station. So again, this is just kind of give you an idea of what you can do when you are looking to use this calculator to determine what your budget will be before you book the cruise. And so also here that I have my hotel for the pre-cruise hotel. So basically, I am paying $295. And so my hotel is actually not that amount, but what I'm doing is I am including the incidentals or the hold fee that you have to have when you are checking in. So part of this will be released after I check out, but I want to just include that into the budget calculator. The next section is the port day spending. So here I have 2 days at the port. So they're considered 2 days excursions. So if you're not doing any excursions, you can just put 0. So for me, I just put 2 days excursions, average about $120. Then if you're not, you can just call it a C day, or there's C day spending. So even though this says port day spending, I've also included C day spending. So there are times when you're on the ship and you have this extra day to just do whatever you want. And so sometimes you may want to budget more for those days that you'll be out at sea. So I'm just going to keep $30 in it just so you can see that. The next section is the other costs. So this will include travel insurance. If you're going to buy some new clothing, some gear for your trip, you can put that in there. Passport documents that you may have to purchase, you can put that in there as well. And then also put in a buffer for miscellaneous expenses that you may or may not have. So for this cruise, I am just putting $250 just aside, just in case for miscellaneous expenses. Just to give you an example, in my cruise back in January, there was a snowstorm when I was scheduled to return. Therefore, my train ride was canceled and I couldn't rebook my train for 2 days after my cruise. So therefore, I had to book a hotel. So therefore, luckily, I had some money on reserve that I can use to cover those expenses for those 2 extra days that I didn't actually budget for. So again, this is kind of what you can do. So after you put in your numbers, you can go here. Let me go back to the bottom. So actually, there's a section that I also included. It's called how to use the calculator. So if you have questions before you use it, you can always click on this button right here, which will give you the information or the instructions on how to use it. So after you put in all the information, there is the estimated total. So based on all the information that I put in here, you see the different sections. So for the cabin without a supplement, it is $477. Taxes and fees are $187. Onboard package, which is I just include the tips, or per se, not the tips. This is just the onboard package. So it is basically $100. Then you have the gratuities. And so therefore, gratuities, I've just put $97. And let me just go back and look at this to figure out what is that. So the gratuities is for the extra tips that I put. So I'm not sure what happened to that. It should be 100. And so again, this is just testing out just to see how it works. So when I put in the change, you'll see that for the gratuities, it changed from $97 to $100. Anytime you make the adjustments here, the numbers will change here on the right. So these are just examples just to see how it works. Going down to travel, you see it is $585. And so basically this includes the train ride, the station transfer, and the pre-cruise hotel costs. So that will give you the number. So after you've put in all the numbers, you will get an average of what it would normally cost you for this cruise. So based on my total expenses for 5 days, I'm spending an average of $417 per night. And so after you've done, if you want this information, you will basically just click on get my full breakdown. You put in your name and you put in your address and you hit submit, and you receive the PDF version of your estimated cruise cost. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on the Solo Cruise Budget Calculator. Again, I ask that you please like or subscribe so that you can be updated on much of the additional information that I have, and just to learn more about the cruising. And as a solo cruiser, I've been on many cruises before, and so I am definitely looking to help people to understand how to travel, based on doing pre-planning. So it's always important to not just, book a cruise, because I always tell people, before you book a cruise, look at your budget, get a notepad, start writing things down, and make sure that you do your research. So this will help you to make sure that you'll get the best cost for your cruise. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and remember to always get about. Thank you.